before we get to Bet on It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. Let's get to Mike in KC. Wants to talk a little play calling. Mike, what's going on?
Good morning, Damon. This is Mike in Kansas City.
How you been?
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, just battling a little health issue here and there, but getting better.
Oh, wishing you the best, man. Tell me something profound. What do we got?
You talk about processing, and I guess as soon as the game was over, when Matt Rule got up to speak, and I like Matt because he's very self-aware.
Yeah,
okay?
I want to start there. I that is 100% the first thing that I like about him. Flaws and all, right? Like, yeah, I love it.
Yes.
I love that.
The fact that he's self-aware is, and especially in our society today, you don't see that very much. But his comments initially, right after the game, raised a red flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
In that he said, well, we didn't run the ball very well. Well, the point is, the first 7 out of 8 plays the Satterfield called, we threw the ball. And as soon as we did that, I knew that we were in trouble. I mean, the idea that we want to run the ball, but then you come up or on first down, we'd run the ball for 7 or 8 yards. Then he throws the ball on second and third down. This isn't the NFL. I mean, the mindset that we're carrying into the football game is we aren't willing to line up and say, can we beat you one-on-one? We're going to run the ball at you, and we're going to see if you can play big man football. And Rule said that from the day he got to Nebraska. I'm a Penn State guy. I'm a Rutgers, I'm coming. We're going to line up and hit. The offense does not resemble that. There's a huge disconnect for what Rule's saying and where Satterfield's at and what's coming to get. That's my thought. And it made me so frustrated when I heard that. It's like, what is going on? That didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
So, Mike,
get your thoughts.
Okay, that's cool. I was going to process through it. I appreciate the call, Mike, and I'm wishing you all the best. I hope
hey,
praying you're feeling better.
So good to talk to you, Damon.
You too. Thank you. I'm telling you, This is what I think this is. I've said this all day today, but I'm with Mike here. I prefaced it with what we talked about in the summer, getting better around him. I talked about it the last 3 weeks with self-control. Even though you've got a great toy to play with, it's not ready for extended use. Okay? He's got to play with him, put it back, play with it, put it back, play with it, put it back. Meanwhile, it's like it's Toy Story, right? But all the other little toys around are what kind of makes Woody. And for Dylan, it takes self-control as a coordinator and as a head coach to not be enamored because it was so much, quote unquote, better than what you had a year ago. And I don't know. These are the parts of where, like Nate's call, that don't bother me, right? Because I know what he's saying. He didn't say it how I would say it, but you can love somebody's talents and not be nurturing them a great deal, where if you keep this up, you're not going to get your return on investment. He said it differently. That was my takeaway from what he said about Raiola. He's not calling him a bust. He's a really good talent, but you can't use him like this. So
I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think that's what he was saying.
I think you're giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt, but I agree with you, so we can keep going.
Okay, so when you're backed up against the goal line and you get the first negative run play. It wasn't negative. It was for like 2.5 yards.
Yeah.
Right? Conventional wisdom says, I got to put the ball in the hands of my best player. It doesn't say, all right,
do it again.
How does this work with who we want to be? As long as you have that serving of the two masters mindset, you're going to get sporadic play calling.
So that's why I agree with Mike. There's a disconnect for sure.
There's a total disconnect.
100%.
So what I think, and Nebraska may have their hand forced for multiple reasons. Number one, there are some plays to be made in the run game against Ohio State. I've been saying this since the season started.
Mm-hmm.
Something is different between Knowles and Larry Johnson Sr. and getting pressure on the quarterback and how they're playing defense. I watch them every week.
Been talking about
I've
this
talked
a lot.
about this for 8-9 weeks.
Ad nauseum. Yeah.
Okay. And so if I'm Nebraska, I want to. What can we do that helps us attack this?
Mm-hmm.
Not even falling in love with the Denzel Burke thing, right? Because he's not playing very well,
mm-hmm.
and everybody's picking on Burke, right? That doesn't mean if I'm Nebraska, I need a little self-control.
Mm-hmm.
I know Burke has kind of been who everybody's picked on. It looks like this, but let's start with
what we're good at, what we want to be.
What do we want to be? Let's call it that way, and let's help out our quarterback. He's young. I don't want to run through him like I was going to say the new girlfriend, but that doesn't sound right. I don't want to just like use it up and not keep it in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep it in good shape as long as possible. I don't think he feels well. That's number 2. So if he's not fully healthy and you want to still run the ball, you have every opportunity given your opponent to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about yesterday needing some concepts with your personnel groupings to help you achieve your desired outcome. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
That it will help you
100%,
and you can build on it going forward. But I get the disconnect is the biggest thing that I think critics are frustrated by, because we hear one thing and we see another, and until that gets reconciled, we'll bring up any and everything we can as an illustration on why this can't work. The Cosgrove thing, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because we haven't even given it an opportunity. And if you think somebody else was going to be better last year, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to critique this year, I'm all in. Like it's not pleasing. I don't like it.
I've got questions.
It's
about
not good.
Identity. I've got questions about.
But don't put that on him yet, because we don't know.
Sure. So here's the thing that I'm betting on, though. And this is a philosophical issue I've got here, because I think just about everything you said was right, and I'm still not sure. And this is a fan problem. This is an us problem, right? I'm still not sure we'd be happy, because here's the thing.
I'm not. I can't control that.
I can't either. But I'm just. But we are talking with a lot of fans and people that are consuming the product.
Okay.
So here's what I'm saying, because we hear a lot of, well, we don't like this and we don't like this, and there's a disconnect, and a lot of those things can be true, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing that's also true that you keep bringing up is everything looked about the way you would want it to in the third quarter against Colorado, and we still weren't happy. Because
I picked one quarter out of each. I picked Northern Iowa and I picked Illinois.
Yeah,
I'm not going to harp on that point.
Right, but here's my point. Right,
I read the stats.
It can look
from those 3 games.
100%. It can look exactly like we think we want it to look, but regardless of how much we say it, as a fan base, we're outcome-oriented, not process-oriented. We want our coaching staff to be process-oriented, not outcome-oriented.
Don't listen to the people that think you have to be one or the other.
Right, because your process needs to lead to correct outcomes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a bad process.
Right.
Long term,
you hear people that haven't really applied it.
Binary, black or white.
It's not.
Right?
It's not binary.
No, you start with one versus the other. I understand that. You start with process, and if you trust that process is a good process, it leads to good outcomes. But if you've got a process that consistently
they both
have to work
behavior.
together.
Yeah, they both dictate behavior.
If you have a process that doesn't consistently lead to good outcomes, eventually you have to examine the process, right? Mm-hmm. But here's my point. Is if we're I don't think we should be at the point yet, if we liked the process, that we should worry about the outcomes yet. But I think if every quarter looked like the ones you're talking about, and we're still having the point outcomes that we're getting,
where we weren't scoring, you mean?
We still wouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
So that's the disconnect as a fan base for me. Is there a disconnect on the coaching staff? 100%. But I think there's a disconnect on the fan base too, because
I do know, and I was frustrated when I kept repeating it, and I would try to find different ways to not get my emotions involved. But when I'm reading stats from different quarters and I say, hey, that's what we wanted, right?
100%.
That's what we wanted, right? That's what we want, right? I get it. It's not generating points. People are like, well, there's no all I was trying to say is, yeah, I want to score points.
Everybody does.
But you better establish who you want to be for the long haul. because then what I heard the last couple of times is responses from the staff through the media about what was being narrated. I'm like, don't fall for that.
And I appreciate
don't fall for that.
I appreciate the call from Mike, but if we are in second and short consistently or third and short consistently and we never take a shot with Raiola, we're going to hear the same thing. Why aren't you using the quarterback?
I don't know.
I think that's true. That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sports. But make sure you get out Saturday, last $10,000 giveaway of the month here in Omaha, and you can win $500 in free slot play every half hour. We'll wrap up the show coming up next.